And we are live. Welcome to the Noahide Nexus. One more time, I'm James at the Idol Smasher YouTube page, and today we're gonna talk about this little book right here, which is it's get a mirror and then rewind it and then find this. And people are calling me. Let's see here. Okay, we're live. Ross, can you hear me? Are you there, Ross? Okay. I'm the only one here. Okay, well, anyway, welcome. That's one of the things I want to talk about because it's been so much fun and there's so much misunderstanding. And, I felt it was time to, maybe give it do a Q&A thing maybe or talk about it. And when I did this and I made it and I realized and I'm all excited about it and changed the name of the whole thing. And I thought, wait a second, I am the worst. There's only one person, two people you can really go to talk about this, and that's Rabbis Chaim, Clorfene, and David Katz. And I am not the here he goes again. Hi, Ross. Incoming call. Ross, are you there? Are you there, Ross? I can hear you now, but we are live in the Nexus, and everybody can hear you on the video call. So I don't know if you can hear them. You can hear me. You can hear me. So it's like they're the audience in radio, and we're the caller right now.
No, I can't hear Ross.
Hi,
Ross.
Let me did I post the wrong link or something to get in?
I had to go to the Nexus and go down after you posted 25 minutes afterwards to get the right link.
Oh, that's nuts. Maybe it's still a hiccup with the Hangouts before everything moves over to Yahoo Live. YouTube Live. There's that. I sent everybody a message. I put it in the Hangout, on the post in the Hangout in the group. Let me just post this one more time, just to make sure we're going to be on the right page. So I'm not really sure I'm the best guy to talk about this, but I've read the book. I've gone through it after I read the book. I still do Torah study. I'm into it. Maybe you can discuss a few things. Path of Abraham Yitzchak had asked if I would pick a few things, misconceptions, things people say, and then what's actually in the book and what's said. And that's the trick here is I don't want to give spoilers away. This is not I'm not here to, Amazon.com right now, very reasonably priced. It's even on Kindle. But get a hard copy. Hard copy. Awesome. The Kindles are cool too. I have one of those. Good book. And honestly, I don't see the controversy as much as others do. Which brings me to one of the reasons why we're changing the name, and I'll just get this out right now and be done with it. I'm not exactly welcome, Ross. All right, glad you made it. I'm not exactly happy with the whole Noahide thing right now. I've been calling myself that for 20 years. About 19 and a half, maybe. I've seriously put it into practice for longer than that, or for a little less than that, but not too much. And it's Noahide. There's. I'm still a Noahide. I'm still a child of Noah, but who isn't, right? And I understand the reason why it's used, but as far as the movement and whatnot, 5 years ago it was something different. Even 10 years ago, it was something different. It was, we were kind of like children in many ways coming to this thing, and there's much more reverence when you were talking with a bunch of Noahides or Noahides Jews, whatever, Torah folk, is Israel folk. There was a sort of reverence. There there was, some of it might have been some of our old ways in Christianity where you're just supposed to sit down and shut up and listen and take it and don't ask questions. But there was also, I think, much more of a respect. And I think a lot of that respect is just kind of gone by the wayside. Um, anyway, this weekend, somebody said something about Rabbi Katz. If you haven't been to the Noahide Nexus, you don't know. I like Rabbi Katz. He's really cool. I like his classes. He says a lot of words I don't understand. That's okay. The more I listen, the more I pick up on it. I kind of need to hear more Hebrew I hear and take in. The better it gets.
I agree with that.
I've never met Rabbi Clorfene. I love his books, and I like every video I've seen, and I like his papers or what he writes and whatnot. So it's not really a personal thing. Like, stop picking on my rabbi. This is we feel so freely as Noahides to talk smack on other people. Okay, there have been rabbis who've said some stuff in the past. I listen to them. I'm like, what? Are you nuts? Are you out of your mind? All right, okay, all right. I'll listen for a little while longer. And if he said something that he might be right, and it might be something I'm completely ignorant to, but if it strikes me wrong, how the heck with this guy? There's another rabbi. Let's go try this guy. Let's try this class. Let's see if this fella has a new video out. I don't need to sit there, and I think it's bad news for a Noahide especially to be talking smack on a rabbi. You got a complaint, say it. You got an issue, say it. But this is to the point now where it's such a perpetual thing. It's a motor running. It doesn't need the starter and the solenoid. The motor's running. It's an ongoing, perpetual thing, and they feel so comfortable about it. We've decided who our enemy is, and he's a Torah observant Jew who says things that we just don't like, and it's perpetual. I really didn't need to get into World of the Ger or what Ger is. It's a Torah word. It's a word in the Torah. It's a Hebrew word. It pretty much means mankind. Okay, that's it. Moving on. I'm trying not to get emotional because I don't like seeing these are grown people. These are adults. I don't need to get into the I made a big stink this week because I just couldn't hack it, and people kept saying stuff. And they say a couple of folks were really awesome. I took the time to talk to them, but I wasn't, and I took the time to talk to them. But there are others out there, and this is not just one little conversation I had. It's just been building up for a long time. I've said it before. I don't need your civil war. Okay, I don't need that. I'm here for Torah. That's it. I'm here for the party. I'm here for the Messianic party. That's what I'm here for. Okay, that's the reason why I don't need to fight with you. I don't want war with you. I don't appreciate people making war in Torah. We have enough problems in the world. Don't the Jews have enough enemies? Don't we have enough writing against us in the world? Just being on planet Earth, 5776, 2016. Don't we have enough problems without this bitter venom chit chat? And we're comfortable in doing it. That really upsets me because I learned a long time ago, and I had to learn the hard way. You don't smack talk. You don't gossip. You just don't do it. The guy's a rabbi. If you don't like him, you don't agree with him. If he says something that just rubs you the wrong way, have faith in the Jewish people, will you? The Noahide folk want to detach them. It's all about detach. We have to detach ourselves from Israel. And there's this big thing that there's the Noahide identity. I've seen this brought up several times. A great fella who just joined the Nexus brought it up today. I don't have his name handy. I apologize. Zan. And he was saying, "What shouldn't we keep our own identity?" He's like, we have no identity. We've got 70 nations, primordially 70 nations, more than that now. We've got Shalom, Pam. There's a lot of color amongst the nations of the world. Architecture, music, language. We've got the color. It's the Jews who stay separate. They have to stay holy. They have to keep themselves holy. When I say holy, I mean separated. That's what holy pretty much means in the Torah. They have to be separate. That's the yarmulke and the payas and wearing very humble black and white clothing. Not everybody. I'm just saying that there has to be some separation. Um, we have an issue going on right now, and it's this division. And Rabbi Katz actually says something great. You can build a wall, of course, to protect the Torah. If you build it too high, you're going to stomp out reject. You're going to block out, redemption. We're all going to be at one tongue one day. The knowledge of God will cover the earth like water. Okay, it is we who attach to them. You can't just take the 7 laws of Noah and say this is ours and it's 7 laws. I mean, you can, and there's some great secular value to it. I'm not going to deny the brilliance of the 7 laws of Noah on a purely secular level, civic level. But if anybody wants to tell you that a human being who's a non-Jew stops at halacha as a human being, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think you heard. You're absolutely wrong. There is more to being a human being than halacha, than 7 laws. That's a fact. We are not robots. We're not computers that we take commands. It's not like that. Yes, keep the 7, but that's just so you want to live. A human being is more than his behavior. I really believe that. I don't think that it's all halakha. I know it's not. But we do have a soul. There is a science in which we can improve that, refine, elevate. I know it's there. I don't know if it's ever happened to me. I'm never happy with anything anyway. But we're going to call it the Nilvah. I'm going to call it the Nilvah Nexus. Maybe this is protest. This is the era of protests in my country anyway, in the States. Everybody's protesting everything. Back in the 60s, you heard about the civil rights movement, which for people my age was kind of an inspiring story, thinking about what they went through and how they persevered. And now they're calling on a college campus here in the States. They're calling for the segregation because they don't want to have microaggression from white people. So their parents and grandparents got the crap beat out of them. Went through a lot of heck in very inhospitable country and worked so that black folk can have liberty in this country too. And now
people died for that as well.
Yeah. Now the grandkids want to segregate it. It's okay to so I guess this is my protest. I don't really want to be known as a Noahide. That's not what I want. I don't want to be there. If I have to be a better man to be amongst the Jewish people, then so be it. But I never really got why so many folks who were students of Katz were so defensive. And it angered me that so many were so defensive.
Because he's right and they can't believe it.
No.
People with agendas, people who are seeking a following, they're not working for the sake of heaven, they're working for the sake of their cause. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to be there anymore. Too many of it, and everybody's complacent. And I had to make a big stink. It took 3 days and a lot of Facebook heat before people started bringing up the subject at hand, which is saying some really nasty stuff. A little flippant. You're going to be flippant with a rabbi. That's between you and the rabbi. But when you're spreading things that are wrong and doing so not because you think the guy is wrong, but because you think you're so damn right.
You're just stirring up strife for strife's sake.
It's arrogance.
There's now been more. I've gotten more flack that I need to get rid of the people I study with. I need to get rid of these. Have I vetted my rabbi? One guy went in class, you need to find yourself another rabbi. You can't just stick to one man the rest of your life. I'm like,
sure you can.
Not the only rabbi whose class I attend. One.
And yet there's ones talking about you need to follow my rabbi.
Yeah, like you need to be in our denomination.
Here's the deal. Rabbi Schwartz, Rabbi Yoel Schwartz, is posik level, designated by the chief rabbi, the Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel, back in the 80s as a posik for Noahides.
Rabbi Schwartz is the man.
Sadly enough, most Noahides didn't follow him because they didn't want to follow what he said. So they sought out rabbis for themselves who would tickle their ears, to put it in a New Testament way. And they isolated Rabbi Schwartz unless they needed something. If they needed recognition, they would run to Rabbi Schwartz until they got their recognition, and then they'd ignore him again. It's easy to check out. People will get mad because I'm saying it, but there it is.
I don't.
It can be verified, and I'm not naming names, so they can deal with it however they want to deal with it. I know it to be true.
It still happens. Same shiznat, different rabbi.
Yes, it is.
They gave my other rabbi a lot of flack too a few years back, if I'm not mistaken.
Rabbi Schwartz endorsed the world of the Ger. His endorsement carries a lot of weight. And if they don't want to recognize his endorsement, then they need to go their own way. Instead of trying to destroy others or take down others, they need to go their own way.
I said the same thing earlier. If a rabbi says something, he rubs me the wrong way, and it's happened, I move on. It's okay.
Exactly.
Hashem.
Yeah.
I have a few issues, but you know what? I realize people are human.
Yeah, that too.
And humans make mistakes.
Yes, they do. We do. And we are.
It doesn't mean that Torah learning is wrong.
Well,
That doesn't mean that research that they've done is wrong. The research that was done has been reviewed and reviewed and reviewed. And people, more and more rabbis are getting on board with it and saying, you know what, they're right. You're starting to hear rabbis now say, you know what, we got a few things wrong.
and you know what that teach? You know what? Rabbis themselves are far from infallible, and that's coming from Rabbi Costano.
Right.
Even Moses messed up. The greatest prophet ever walked the planet, whoever will, messes up.
Everybody. Excuse me.
Anyway,
Yes.
I've changed the name from the Noahide Nexus to the Nilvah Nexus. And people are asking, what is Nilvah?
Thank
Nilvah,
you.
parallel or attached, are the two most common English words I've used. It's the Nilvah Nexus, because I believe that if you're going to cleave to the seven, you are cleaving to God. If you're cleaving to the Torah, if you're cleaving to the Torah, you're going to be cleaving with Jews. Get used to it, I think. I don't like and I think this is the problem. I think this is the sourness. Like the Noahide tree's rotten, or it's got a foul smell to it. Somewhere it's rotten. It needs to be cut down or pruned badly. There's a disconnection. It's all about stop doing that. I'd say when I go over to my Rabbi Katz's house, I don't use his microwave. I'm fine with that. It makes perfect sense. All I have to do is stir something. And it was all about we are the only ones who keep Shabbat. Right. But if I'm amongst you, it's one law, and I guarantee it's not Noahide law.
Okay, here's the problem, James. Can I interject?
We got to get positive because I want to talk about this book too. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Pam. Go ahead.
Here's the problem. People are confusing rabbinical Judaism, and I don't mean to offend anybody or step on toes,
Lafip Shuto.
but rabbinical Judaism, there's rabbinical decrees, and that's what people are saying. You can't do that. You cannot do what we do. We're Jews, and the rabbis say this and that and something else. It's rabbinical things that they have made decisions on that you don't find explicitly in Torah.
That would be the fence factor.
Exactly. and they're justified in making that fence. That's their tradition for them. We are not required to do their traditions with them unless we are in their community physically. According to Torah, we follow what Torah required from creation. So we honor the seventh day as the seventh day Shabbat, as it was created to be done. People keep confusing the terminology, and they keep trying to throw one out to keep the other. And you don't have to. Both of them are perfectly viable if you choose to do the rabbinical version because you're a Jew or an Israelite of Jewish persuasion. I still have issues with them just being Jews because there's 12 tribes, all called Israel. And at Mishpatim, we learned that Israel was everybody who stood there at that day. It included non-Jews, hard as that is for some people to swallow. The non-Jews have a place, always have had, always will have. And there is a level of observance accepted by them that is perfectly acceptable all the way back to creation, as taught by Shem and Abraham. And you know what I'm saying?
Well, this is, we'll just get into it. One of the things that people say is Gers and Shabbat, or non-Jews. I'm just going to say non-Jews. There's different kinds of non-Jews in the Torah.
A non-idolater.
A non-idolater, yeah, let's just say a non-idolater keeping Shabbat. There was, the awesome cannot keep the Shabbat because he's awesome. What is an awesome? A nochri. It's like saying, Noahide is the rabbinical term. Ger, in many ways, actually is the term in Torah. There's no Noahide. The only Ben Noach you hear about are the Ben Noach, the three sons of Noah. So people are upset. See, when I'll give you a little history here. When I first came to the Torah, when I first came to Judaism, and I read this and I was embracing it, I just had a JPS Tanakh. I had a great book on the Kabbalah, not an instructive book by any means. Very, very good book. And that's what brought me up. That sold me. And I had, I still have it, old book, Jewish Holidays and Festivals. And it was actually a children's book. I figured if I was going to start somewhere, I'd start a child's book. And To Be a Jew was another book that I would skim at the time that I was considering conversion. But I felt instinctively that Friday night was a special time. And it was a happy time in our apartment complex where we had beer and smoke and lots of people coming around and I light candles and people would say happy Sabbath to me. These were rock and rollers, okay? Mm-hmm. Wild back in the day. But I felt compelled to light a bunch of candles and it was a special night and everybody loved it. We were attracting people Friday night to our house because it was the coolest place to be.
And you were at home and safe and didn't have to worry about driving.
But I felt something special about it early on before I ever went to classes and went formal and really shaped myself up. And
you were attempting to honor it.
Something about it made sense. Mm-hmm. And then don't do that. You're stepping on toes. You're sleeping with God's wife. Yeah, I don't want to sleep with God's wife. I'm not Joseph in the New Testament.
when God created the seventh day, what did he create it for? So that we could ignore it and diss it and disrespect it?
He declares it. I mean, he says it. He spoke it before all creation in Genesis.
He created it specifically for a purpose, and he blessed it, and he made it holy. To make it holy means he set it apart from the other days.
I will say this. Yes, the Jews are commanded to keep Shabbat. And that's some serious stuff because we all know what happens if you don't. The Lord is not happy with you.
Everyone standing at Sinai was told to remember the seventh day to keep it holy. Were they not?
Before Sinai, remember?
Before Sinai. and at Sinai, and repeatedly for a lot of time since. You know why? It's a sign between God and his people. They recognize him as God by keeping and honoring the day according to his instructions, and therefore he recognized them as his people.
He didn't say, by the way, he did not declare the holy day. There's nothing that I.
In creation, yes, he did. He set it apart and made it. He blessed it and made it holy.
He just didn't speak it. I was under the impression he spoke it. He declared it, as in spoke, and God.
I'd have to go back and look at the actual word of it. Maybe the rabbi could.
We're not trying to be Jews. This isn't want to be Jews.
No, we want to do things the way God intended them to be from creation. We're trying to get back to the covenant of the ancients. That's my goal.
When I heard 3 rabbis say that the ger can keep Shabbat as a ger in his home, whether it's just saying Shabbat Shalom or acknowledging the day is there, I started lighting candles, and I haven't stopped. The wife doesn't do it, and I'm only half a ger. I know maybe it shouldn't be done by some. It's supposed to be done by women. I do.
Rabbi Schwartz approved for people to light candles if they didn't do it the way that Israel currently does it, the way Jews do it. They're commanded to light 2 candles.
And one
They're commanded by the rabbis to light 2 candles. What? A minimum of 2 candles. I'm sorry. Some of them light 1 candle for every member of the family. I've seen huge candelabras. I mean, it's like a bonfire. And they'll light a candle for each member of the family and say a blessing. It's customized the way the individual family, what enhances their keeping of it, what makes it special.
There's nothing that prohibits a God-fearing non-Jew from keeping Shabbat in his own way.
That's true. And another thing that you can go back to, if you research it out, all the way back to Sarah, the candles were lit according to what we've been told. And remember the scripture where it talks about the souls that Abraham and Sarah created?
Yeah.
That was a type of conversion from idolatry to non-idolatry. And somewhere, Larry, do you remember where that commentary was, honey? Where it talked about the connection to children, that if you bring somebody out of idolatry into truth, into the worship of the one true God, it is as if you become their parent and they your child. And so one of the questions that immediately popped up into our head was, God says, speak to the children of Israel. And I wonder if that would include people who converted from idolatrous religions to the religion of Israel to follow their God, because they taught them. See the connection?
The,
I don't think people are thinking of it in those terms, though. I barely hear you, but I know they can.
You have proof that it does.
Where?
The story of Abraham. He will become a father of many nations.
He said the proof is in the story of Abraham. He will become a father of many nations.
many nations.
Father, child, children of, descendants of. We are taught in the Noahide sense that that's all physical descendants. but it appears to be a spiritual descendancy as well.
The only thing that makes sense.
That's the way it makes sense.
I wanted to speak what Rabbi put over here in the chat. Rabbis themselves are far from infallible. Here it is. There's an entire volume of the Talmud dealing with mistakes the sages made in their ruling. Wow.
You see, all this stuff, people are getting so caught up in what they were taught. I mean, we had to give up everything we ever thought we knew. And it's not easy. Remember how hard it is to give up stuff you want to hold on because your mama said? Or your daddy said? We're talking about thousands of years of stuff creeping in that needs cleaned up, not just with us, but also with the Jews. And that'll tick some of them off too. But they're starting to find where there's actually a few things that got wrong. And some of them don't want to fess up. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to face it. They don't want to hear it.
When you bring something new into it, Jews are very stiff-necked people, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is you're not bringing anything new. You're bringing the old back.
Yeah, Larry said the thing is we're not bringing anything new. We're bringing the old back.
So, just to clarify, and you're going to have to read the World of the Ger to understand where I'm coming from, to get the full skivvy. But if you're around the Jews, you just don't cook. You don't cook a steak. You don't eat pork. You just don't do it.
Don't bring offense. You don't cause offense, whether you agree with them or not.
Here's the thing that gets me. We've got, how many different Sabbaths do we have? I forgot what the Muslim. Are they
Friday night, I think.
Friday, and then we've got the Jews doing Saturday, and we've got the Christians doing Sunday, and the Moonies doing Monday. With all these Sabbaths popping up here and there, and and then there are some who stand up and say, no, there's only one Shabbat, and that's God's Shabbat. And then everyone gets mad at you for it.
Yep.
Because you're starting a cult, which is number two. Number two, one of the misconceptions. This is not just because we study here does not make us a cult. If you study with your rabbi, are you in a cult at that time? If you are, then yes, we are a cult. I'm not so sure that everybody else might agree with you on that. If you're,
depends on whose definition of a cult you're using.
if Rabbi Katz and Clorfene teach a class and you show up to his class once, twice a week, are you in a cult at that time?
No.
No. And it also goes to what was the other creating a new religion. Kind of goes with the cult thing. No one's creating a religion just because we know what the seventh day means. You know why it's holy in my house? Because it's holy to God. Not because the Jews do it. Jews do lots of stuff. They also go into banking and Hollywood. I'm not in films and banking. It's just not my thing. I'm not doing it because Jews do it. It's holy because God declares it holy. And believe it or not, I really believe that it'll help you throughout your week, knowing that Shabbat's on the way. It does. There is something positive and healthy about knowing this and acknowledging it in your mind.
Every day, Shabbat's coming.
It helps. It helps my week.
It does.
I worked 2 jobs. I worked weekends. I tried doing Friday nights off. Was not ready for it. And I was a working fool. And for the first time in my life, I got a promotion, and I'm to a place where I can take weekends off. And just knowing that Friday night's coming, family day is what it is around here. My Christian family doesn't spaz too much. Monday we sit down as a family and eat. We don't make plans to do anything. If I have to work, if I have to fix a tire, so what? No harm, no foul. I'm not in Israel. You're not starting. We're not. There's no cult. There's no new religion. Stop calling it a cult. Unless you consider yourself in a cult when you're in yeshiva with your rabbi, then you are in his cult. And if you do that, then there's no.
Especially if you only listen to that one rabbi and no one else.
That's one of the great freedoms about being non-Jewish. We're free. I hate to say this, and no offense to any of my Israelite folks out there, but we're free. But no,
Even Jews who go to synagogues and have rabbis listen to other rabbis.
and yeah, in yeshiva, you don't have just one rabbi.
Huh.
Even rabbis have rabbis they go to.
Yes.
Yeah. Who was it that said he who learns from everyone? Something about wisdom or smart people are the ones that learn from everyone. I forget who said that, but it's a great quote. Somebody's quoted it once. But here in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 3, at least in the translation, it says, "And God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it." So yes, he did pronounce it holy at creation. It says here in the commentary, literally set apart from profane usage. The Sabbath demands more than stoppage of work. It is specifically marked off as a day consecrated to God in the life of the Spirit. End of story. That's at creation.
It's God declares it holy. Why?
God declared it holy.
How am I a sinning fool? How am I a cult-driven moron, ignoramus? Yeah, the Rabbi Katz actually did a teaching at the wall, and kind of went through. It was the denim class, denim 11, where he went through what people were saying about him and others. And yeah, we're idiots. We're morons. Moron, sucker.
That's okay. God knows who we are.
We are free to declare what God declares holy. We are free to do that.
Absolutely.
We are. And if it brings us blessings, great.
People kept
Say,
Shabbat.
you find that holy, Lord? We find that holy. I find that holy. All right, I want to remember that seventh day. I'm going to remember that. That's a special day to God. Did God tell me not to pick up sticks on Shabbat? No, he did not. He never told me that. Now, if I'm amongst Israel, yes, he did, loud and clear. So we're not creating a new religion. If you actually,
The thing is you don't do the rabbinical injunctions, and they don't have a problem with you.
no kidding. No one's arguing really with anybody.
No.
This is more of that disconnect. If you knew what was going on, you wouldn't worry about it.
I have more Christians praying for me than you'll ever know.
You have more what?
I have more Christians praying for my soul that I come back and find my way back home to Jesus than you'll ever know.
Tell them to prove it wrong.
Yeah, well, I think you say, well, I'll look at it, but if I got to leave Jesus, no way. There's no way. I won't do it.
They're really great.
It's like, okay, fine. Be my guest. You know, no one's telling you have to. I'm just letting you know where I am.
Yep, I've been told I had deceiving demons and yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I'll just turn them on to the little video. Been there, done that by Gutman Locks and let them read
I have
that.
one friend.
Love that video. I posted it the other day, as a matter of fact, because I watched it again.
So we're not a cult. Shabbat is okay, so long as we're not trying to be Jewish. In simple terms.
Right.
Shalom. I can light candles and have a family meal with my dinner and make sure that we separate that this is family night. Until the kids are too old for me to tell them what to do, this is family night.
I think what we should do, though, just a good thing to do, when you decide that you want to recognize Shabbat, you should go through and look up every place the seventh day observance is mentioned and see how it was done in the written text. Larry, can you get this? I'm going to mute me. Hang on a minute. I'll be back.
The world wants to talk to you. It's that more of that disconnect we're talking about the religion thing. We, as Garim, and yeah, I'm going to start using that word a lot more because I'm realizing that's where I'm at. I don't want to be. I want to be there. I want to be the real deal.
Well, there you go, Gary Nexus. I like that.
the Ger are very reverent, and a lot of them are older people. You know, these aren't 20-year-old kids.
Who have no respect and don't understand the respect issue.
Seasoned folk, and you know, my elders. Even. When I went to the Vindel Jones conference, I was one of the juniors. Very much more of a reverence for what's going on. And I just want to I want to reflect that. And if you know, there's really no good reason because the whole thing is about the universal Torah. It only confirms stuff that I've been coming to little conclusions that I have to keep in my closet, my Noahide closet. I have to keep them shut away and in a little box where nobody can see them. And if I do open them up, it has to be under the covers with the lights out in my home at night. I have to keep things in my closet, my little Noahide closet, because you certainly don't want to talk about that to the Jewish people. Don't tell them you ever read a Kabbalah book. I can understand why. I find out how much junk is out there. Does that mean that there's no receiving? Does that mean that a man cannot spiritually elevate himself willingly, or that there's a system by which the religion might seem new to the Noahide because it's Torah, and that's what we want to get back to. It's just Torah. We can write 1,000 books on 7 laws, and I'm sorry, but after 7 years, 7 laws gets kind of boring, and then move on. Sometimes we need a little more than just keeping 7 laws. What are you supposed to do? Sit on the couch and read People magazine and eat at Wendy's for the rest of your life? That's the George Carlin line. But that's kind of what it's like. There's got to be more to this. There is in this Torah. And yes, you have a place in Torah. If you are a God-fearing individual, if you're a Joe Schmo who loves God and just wants to do the right thing, yes, you are in Torah. If you read Torah, don't make it foreign because it's not foreign. The star of the show, save God himself, are the Jewish people because that's what Noah was created for. That's what's bringing Mashiach. So the Jews are the fulcrum. They are the core. They are the gravity of the entire Torah. They're there for a reason. They're made special for a reason. If you pay attention, if you look, it takes a little bit of Hebrew knowledge. Knowing a little Hebrew helps. My Hebrew's horrible, but it's there. You can see that there were throughout history non-Jewish people, sometimes whole nations and tribes, kings, people who loved the God of Israel. They were amongst the Jews. They lived across the way from Jews. Sometimes you don't know where they came from. And these are not Jewish people. If I'm not mistaken, Samson was a Ger, was he? I know his father was named Noah. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, Samson wasn't a Ger.
Okay. So he was Jewish. He was an Israelite?
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't asked that.
Say it again?
Never mind, it's gone.
All right. Kabbalah and junk are basically synonymous. You find yourself reading about Kabbalah, be aware that you have a ready source of toilet paper. Wow.
Yeah, the ancient Kabbalah, as I understand it, is not the same Kabbalah that's being taught today.
No, it's not. And the ancient Kabbalah is gone. We don't have it anymore. It was never written down.
I got to admit, they're folks. Oh, by the way, Justin says hello. Justin said hello. He was watching from the Nexus, and Justin's just showed up. So shalom.
Shalom, Justin.
Hello, Justin.
Hello.
Sorry I had to leave. I had a phone call I had to take.
Yeah, a book about Kabbalah, learning the history, which is kind of what I was learning. Very general principles, but I saw the Tree of Life, had no idea what it was about, but some things made sense. I mean, some of it's got to be. It can't be all bad, can it? It did wonders for me anyway.
I think there's probably information there that we can glean from,
Yeah.
but I don't think we should take it as absolutely the 100%. You know, I think that we can glean stuff from a lot of places.
Well, I think Kabbalah, as it exists today, Kabbalah, the most benevolent use you could find for it is a source of non-binding midrash or commentary as well. But other than that, I mean, for people who take this stuff literally, it's very dangerous. There's a lot of very, very bad concepts in it.
No, I agree, and I didn't know that at first. And then I discovered Madonna Kabbalah. I mean, Hollywood knows their Kabbalah. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I always found Kabbalah to be commentary. That's about as far as I could get on it too. None of it. I'll be honest, none of it made any sense. I didn't really get it until I actually started reading the Torah, which it was in English, which is basically you're reading a commentary when you're reading non-Hebrew. That's pretty much what you're getting. But
How many years of study do we have to get under our belt to start realizing how things really work? You know, the newbie doesn't get it for years. They have to study first to just get their foundation straight.
You got to teach them. I did a video. If anybody's watching, I did a video on 3 books I would recommend to the Noahide in the wilderness.
I saw it.
Yes, you did, and you ordered World of the Gear and Divine Code, was it?
Yes, it was really cool. Divine Code came in the mail yesterday. Only took them 2 days, and I'm waiting for the other one.
Yeah, Divine Code. I haven't read, of course, the Hebrew. I think there's a few things in there that the editing might be a little off, maybe, but it'll give you so much insight, and it's fun because a lot of people like splitting hairs, and that'll split a hair, that'll split murder up, that'll split blasphemy up for you.
It gives you different definitions.
It gives you some things to think about.
That you never even think about.
It gives you sources to look up.
I like sources. I like people who cite their sources.
Yes, we like sources.
Speaking of people citing their sources, one thing I have noticed, I like Amazon and everything, but it seems like every book I get falls apart. You held up your book, The World of the Gear, while you showed that one. I ran over and got mine, and pages like 3 through 59 fell out of the book.
Oh no!
Yeah, and what's more upsetting is that Let's Get Biblical, books 1 and 2 by Rabbi Singer. All of book 1 has been falling apart on me, and it's like every time I turn a page, it falls out. So I'm almost afraid. I'm almost afraid to open this new book for the fact that the pages are going to fall out on me. So I got a rubber band and
did you get Service from the Heart?
Yes, I'm still waiting on that one. That one I'm still waiting on. It hasn't come, and I'm buying them brand new and not used. So this is what's really upsetting me.
Well, I think it has to do with the publisher, not with the. Because our we self-published through Lulu.
Yeah.
But so far we have not had any complaints about books falling apart. It could be the signs of the times, the way the economy is getting, they may be doing things in a cheap way.
That's what I was kind of wondering too.
Yeah.
This is really, 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 really neat. It's just everything's in here.
Yeah, that's the one I'm waiting on.
Service from the Heart, and if I can do a shameless plug, Service from the Heart is actually pre-Gare. I mean, it kind of lays a foundation for the understanding of what then came along as we understand to be Gare. It tippy toes right up to the Gare stage.
It does, but it's very readable, and it's just You know,
Well, we would have wanted it more Ger-like, but we didn't know what to call it. And Rabbi Schwartz, doing the endorsement of it, he and Rabbi Sitzman were the major reviewers, and they wanted us to keep it very simple so that anybody in any culture of the world could take it and make it their own.
and it
It's,
is.
it's designed so that you can take it and make it yours. You don't do it as we do.
Yeah.
It's meant to be customized. And the Philippine people did just that.
That's right. They ordered a bunch, didn't they?
Oh, man. When they first contacted us about the book, I think they only had maybe a couple of groups. Just maybe 30, 40, 50 people strong. And now they have thousands.
Yeah, they're growing in leaps and bounds. Them and
They
and
use
the,
service from the heart for just about all their service stuff.
and the western side and more of the middle of Africa is really starting to book out too.
Yeah.
And parts of southern Africa as well.
Mm-hmm. It's just amazing to me, the growth. And I just sit in awe. When they added me to their group and they tagged me in their videos,
Yeah.
sometimes you just sit and cry to watch the growth. It's just amazing.
Good for them.
There's more to non-Jewish life than halakha. I think that's the message I got from World of the Ger. I've never seen, service of the heart would be the closest thing that didn't necessarily deal with halakha, didn't deal with a constant. I mean, you can go forever on the 7 Noahide laws. I'm not going to, there's a universe in there. I'm not knocking. This is in no way belittling. 7 foundation, end of story. You say anything about the 7, you're saying it against my mother. I'll come after you. Okay. But there are other things to being a human being, a God-fearing human being, than just halakha.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I really liked about this book most of all. One is that everything I had confirmed was there. Everything I believed. When I read Torah, I was there. You know that they used to say in the news back in the day, "You are there." You know? That's what. And I had to make up little stories in my mind. Okay, if Abraham's around here and he's got his family out there, what would I do? Well, I'd be the guy who would go talk to Abraham and then stick around and listen to him talk some more. Or if I were at Sinai, my camp would be right outside of theirs. I don't think we'd run anybody off, and maybe I could be friends with them. I always had to make up a story as to why I'm reading this and where am I. And
yeah.
I didn't know that there was a place for me everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. You're not going
That was God's design. He created a nation of people that was all inclusive.
One nation, one tongue. The world will one day speak one language.
Eventually, one nation, one God, one tongue. It'll all go full circle and come right back to where He intended it to be.
That's really what the book is. I don't know if we can really say too much more. I don't want to give it. I go online and say a spoiler-free discussion, and then Rabbi Katz is here. Have chapter 1.
Yeah.
Well, the World of the Ger is an excellent source book for showing you. I mean, there's more. They found more since the book was published, but it's a good primer for understanding the non-Jews' part in Judaism.
In the redemption.
How does Torah define where we fit and how we fit?
I got a nice little contribution if you'd like to hear it.
Yay.
Ooh, Ross, you snuck in on me.
No, I was here for quite a while. I listened to you all the way home from the ride.
Oh, well, I've shut up now. You have it. Go ahead.
That's just a brief little something. I kind of thought it was very interesting because this was something that just came to me recently. You know, we've discussed how not one letter, sentence, word, parsha, nothing's been changed, right, since it was written, right?
Right.
And we've just recently come to understand that the Ger was there the whole time, right?
Right.
And over the course of time, there have been a few rabbis sitting down writing stuff about the ger, the ger, the ger. The Vilna Gaon, all these rabbis, right?
Right?
And for whatever reason, a lot of people, myself included, and many others, were reading Torah, and we never saw that ger, right? Until just recently.
And some of us were seeing it several years ago.
Okay, several
We
years
just
ago.
didn't know how. We just didn't know how to fit the puzzle piece in. We kept saying, "But there it is," and the
Right,
rabbis would say, "No, you don't see anything. There's nothing there."
right. Well, here's what I kind of started to understand. They were there kind of all along.
Right?
Just recently that people have started to realize that he's there. And then I got to thinking, it's probably because the language in Scripture is so gentle, so soft, that he was there all along, and we didn't really notice it because nobody was standing there, especially at Shem, saying, "Hey, that's a Garrett over there. Hey, that's a Garrett over there." In other words, there was no taunting of the Gare. He was just being treated like one of the one of the family.
They weren't germane to the conversation at the time. Is that
Right.
what you're
It's
trying to
like,
say?
no, I'm saying
Everyone
he was,
understood.
he was there the whole time. It's just nobody felt like it was necessary to start
Excuse me.
pointing fingers and say that guy's a Gare.
He didn't have to be singled out
There you go.
because he was part of already, and
But
it was
if he had been singled out, would that be similar, like maybe close to taunting the Gare?
could have been.
So that we don't find that language.
So they're basically not pointed out until they're necessary for the point that's trying to be made.
Yeah.
Like
Now,
Shem. Like Shem.
Well, they're hidden. What it is, it's hidden in plain sight because of the
Right.
translator.
The tenth that well, isn't that the tenth of Shem?
Yeah, if the tense of Shem had been clearly defined,
We
with
would.
the translators did a really remarkable job in hiding some things. When you look at the original text, that's where you start getting clarification. We could see it, but we couldn't see it fully because we didn't understand the language. And so, and up until Rabbi Katz and Rabbi Clorfene come along, Rabbi Schwartz understood a lot more than he was telling, but he knew people wasn't ready for it.
There you go.
And I know that because he helped us with Service from the Heart. And when you look at Service from the Heart with fresh eyes, after studying the world of the Ger, you're like, whoa, there it is. It's right there, see?
It wouldn't attract so many people if it wasn't. I
But
like
now it's time for it to come out.
better than any drug. I've done my share of partying in my day back in the day. I'm not never as bad. Don't think I'm going to speak like that.
And another recent development, really, on the grand stage is the kind of like Israel becoming a player on the main stage again. So naturally, here comes the Ger following.
I think the whole idea of Ger is the Noahide movement growing up.
Or at least taking their role of responsibility to the story.
Physical responsibility.
Right, for the story.
When I came home from the Bindle Jones conference, I really wanted to clean house.
You really wanted to do what?
Clean house.
Okay.
It was just like, and after, I hit me with something other than just taking your room up. Yeah, the Nilvah Nexus. What do y'all think?
I like it.
I'm not going to mention that Ross came up with the idea and what a great and wonderful guy he is. So I'm not going to say nothing about it.
Yeah, we won't say anything about how great and wonderful Ross is,
Never would I.
and how much we love the way he connects the dots and teaches us stuff we don't think of.
Really spoke out. But I'm not going to say it. We're not going to mention any of that, right?
No,
Good, good.
I've
good,
already
'cause
told Ross how much I appreciate him. You, all you
the
guys.
title, the dot connector, yeah.
The Nilvah Nexus. It's
The
what do you,
Nilvah Nexus with the dot whisperer.
the dot.
No, y'all gonna make me blush redder than a bottle of ketchup now.
We're not mentioning any names.
Give you something to concentrate on, huh?
I do like Nilvah Nexus.
Now it was.
You just need to explain in the
What
room
Nilvah is, yeah.
what Nilvah is, because not everybody knows.
I didn't get it.
Remember last year when I said that I was concerned about the Noahide people?
No.
Ross and I don't know who else is here. Rosalie might have been here. And I was
Not last year, huh?
or not last week, maybe the week before. But it was like I always feel like my attention is, or I'm concerned about what's happening with them. And I'm not saying I want to, just turn my back on Noahide people. I just don't want to be there anymore.
Right.
Well,
I've just,
we have to decide to grow up.
And you have your path to walk as well.
I don't understand why we don't need war. Noahides don't need war. Why do people want to make war?
Because they don't want others to move on. They want people to be stuck where they are.
They thought that maybe they just don't know who they're messing with? Because some of us are pretty good at war.
People are stupid.
I'm too good.
If you'll notice about humanity, every known religion, most every known religion, I have to say, I can't say all because I don't know about all of them, but they all predominantly, mostly, will say, our way is right. Your way is wrong. How do we know that? Because we have our way and you have yours. We don't need to know your way because our way's right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no communication. There's no, well, let's discuss things. There's no, let's, reason together. It's my rabbi's bigger than your rabbi. My book's better than yours. My group's better than your group. It's all about being better. Me, 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 me.
I have a question real quick. Since we have a rabbi in the room, if you're there, Rabbi, is what I understand, because in the divine code, we're told that we don't evil speak as human beings, God-fearing human beings. We don't evil speak. We don't engage in idle gossip. And I was told recently that that's pretty much a Jewish thing, and I shouldn't be concerned with it.
Who told you that? And I mean,
I was going to say, I thought it was a mitzvah to make fun of idolaters.
Depends on who you talk to.
no, well, I mean, it's
Really, is it okay for Gentiles? Is it permissible? I mean, if we can eat the carcass of a dead animal prior to Noah, then does that mean that we can evil speech each other as well? I figured that'd be part of the murder.
well, no, it's there's a difference of opinion whether or not it's covered under murder or not. But the reality is there an explicit prohibition for a non-Jew to not engage in evil speech? No, there's not. Does that mean that non-Jews should engage in evil speech? No, of course they shouldn't. No one should. But that's there's a difference between being commanded and also look in Noahide thought, in Noahide law, a woman cheating on her husband is considered idolatry. It is not considered idolatry for the husband to cheat on the woman. There's no prohibition there. At the same time, I'm not advocating it should be done.
So technically, by saying that I am prohibited from evil speech, I'm taking on a mitzvot.
Yes.
Voluntarily. Wow.
I think that depends.
Come over here and talk to the microphone.
Hi, Larry.
How you doing? I think that depends. Because if you're attaching yourself to Israel, then you're under the same laws Israel is.
At least the community.
You don't do it according to the way Israel does it, but according to Torah's understanding of what you understand.
A basic moral standard.
The basic moral standards. But if the law is there, it still applies to you if you're attaching yourself to Israel. That's why in the Tanakh it says, "Let the dead bury the dead."
That's not in the Tanakh.
It isn't?
It's in the New Testament.
Okay, I apologize.
Just.
I sometimes get my words mixed up with what I'm thinking.
That's okay, not a problem.
It's hard to flush it all out.
But the thing of it is, it doesn't matter what the idolaters do. If you're attaching yourself to Israel, that's where it matters.
That's why Israel sets the standard. They set the example.
That's why the nations had the pillars to go and write things down and take it back and learn and study. They didn't come with their own rabbi.
That's why there's cultural differences that can be allowed.
I really wish I had Mishnah Torah. In the Divine Code, second edition, 453, the Rambam Laws of Personality Development 6.8. It appears that all these precepts are a branch of the general prohibition of murder and harming another person, and therefore they apply to Gentiles as well as Jews. This is also explained by Rabbi Yonatan Daif, Mitzvah Hashem, page 175 and 490. Rabbi Zalman Nehemiah comments that there is no source which clearly shows that Gentiles are obligated by these Jewish precepts. It may be inferred from the story of Tamar, who risked her life as not to embarrass Judah, Genesis 38:25, but perhaps she did so because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their families kept the Torah's Jewish commandments before they were given to Moses. A similar instance can be seen from Ezekiel 16:49 and 50. Behold, this was the sin of Sodom. She and her daughters, the surrounding villages, had pride, overindulgence in bread, and peaceful serenity, but she did not strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. And they were haughty, and they committed an abomination before God. So God removed them in accordance with what God saw. I didn't know that was a quote, so I inserted me, I, with God. According to the Midrash, one example of their abominations was the severe court-ordered punishment of a girl who violated their law against giving charity. Thus, because the people of the metropolis of Sodom forbade and punished acts of charity, they were destroyed.
I posted a link in the sidebar.
Yeah.
That site has the Mishnah. Got Tanakh, Midrash, Mishnah.
It is. I have that bookmarked, and there's too much stuff.
Well, you said you wish you had the Mishnah Torah, so I was trying to help.
Right. No. Maybe we should look that up. Laws of personality development.
If we look in Rabbi in the Service from the Heart, Rabbi Schwartz, I think, talks about that. Let me see if I can find where.
One of the proof against gossip was Genesis 37:2, and Joseph would bring negative reports of them to their father, which resulted in his brother's plot to kill him. The simple meaning of the verse is that telling evil gossip is a sin, even though Joseph had good intention for doing it. As can also be seen from the explanations of Rashi by Sophono there, as well as in the Jerusalem Talmud tractate Peah, chapter 1. So the laws are incomplete. I'm sorry. Seven,
Well, they changed with every generation.
no, but you can't just evil
There's
speak.
still basics.
Yeah,
There's basics.
you can't separate the 7 from the Torah. It just doesn't work. You can't not you. It's
Hang on.
all the Torah. It's all Jews. I can't stress that more. It's not a separate entity. That you can't do it without Torah. None of it makes sense without Torah. The 7 are meaningless without Torah.
Because Torah isn't man, Torah isn't Jewish. Torah is God. And God's so big your brain will bounce. So stop. Do the best you can and thank God for the wisdom you do have and thank Him for more.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Besides starting a new religion, illegally taking on other mitzvot. Oh, that was one we never discussed. It's not. I don't think you're going to find a good rabbi who's going to tell a non-Jewish person to put on tefillin. But from what I understand, if the non-Jew, for the sake of heaven, or as a mitzvot, I guess, wants to put on tefillin, you should help him and show him the proper way to do it.
Yeah, if he takes on the extra mitzvah, he's allowed to by choice.
Right?
We're not allowed to tell him he's obligated to or that he's commanded to. But if he wants to do it by choice, then he has to seek out somebody who will teach him how to do it appropriately. He has to do it correctly.
My question is, who wouldn't want to help their fellow man better themselves?
You'd be surprised.
I got that right.
That's a good question. I can only think of individuals, but even there, I can try to find a way.
One more thing, Bill. But
it's one of the accusations is that we illegally take on extra mitzvot. I kind of came up with the Shabbat thing, which I think is what people spaz the most. The idea of a Gentile recognizing day 7, I think would fall under this category. But
well, what do they mean? I hate to interject. What do they mean by illegally taking on mitzvah? What do most of these people? In what context do they mean that?
Okay. We got Shabbat to fill in. Those are the only 2 examples coming to my mind, but they're recent.
I mean, are they implying that you shouldn't do them at all, or you shouldn't do them in a manner identical that Jews do them?
No, it's the idea that we're being taught Judaism and not 7 Noahide laws,
Okay.
which would therefore lead people astray. Does that make sense?
Not really, but
Actually, no, it doesn't make any sense because you have to first understand the Noahide law before you can move forward into other things.
right. Well, I mean, my understanding, it's again, illegally taking on a mitzvah would imply that you're doing it as some sort of obligation that isn't stated for you. That doesn't make it illegal to do it, but your motivation, I think, would have to be with the understanding that you don't have to.
Yeah, for instance, if you decide you're going to light Shabbat candles, you don't say the blessing thanking God for commanding you to do so.
Right, correct.
Because you're not commanded to do so.
Right.
I don't like the wordage keeping Shabbat because I'm not Jewish. Therefore, I couldn't keep Shabbat if I tried. You know what I'm saying? That we weren't commanded to keep it. Therefore, there's only one people who can keep it at all. I couldn't
See,
keep it.
there's confusion. I'm sorry, but that's confusion. Anyone who stood at Sinai, what were they told? Before Sinai, to remember the Shabbat. At Sinai, to remember the Shabbat. Who was standing at Sinai? Who was there? Think about it. Remember. Was
Well,
it just the Jews?
no, the era.
Well, before Sinai, there were no Jews. It wasn't a nation
Exactly.
before Sinai.
Israelite.
And yet Shabbat was commanded pre-Sinai, before they arrived at Sinai, for everyone that left Egypt, including the mixed multitude.
Erev Rav.
Yeah.
And when you look at the actual text of what was said, instead of the explanations that some give about what was said, then you see that there's more going on there than what we've been led to believe. It's not just the Jews, it's people who attach, anyone who says, because God says, we need to look up Mishpatim again. God says that in Mishpatim that they become his people because they enter this agreement with him. He becomes their God and they become his people. It doesn't say just the Jews, it says the people.
And every place I've looked at, there was in Genesis. We looked at it. I looked at another place. Every time the word "the people" came up, it was always used. I don't remember the word, the Hebrew word. I knew it at the time, and it literally meant the people. It was a very, very generic term.
In Devarim 29, it clearly states who it was that was standing there, and it included the strangers. And my problem is not in that I completely understand where it's coming from, but there's a terminology thing going on. Anciently, the terminology was understood differently than it is in a modern sense. And when you come to understand how it actually, and I'm by no means an expert, so don't think I am, because I don't. But everything we've researched out, and what Rabbi Katz and Rabbi Chaim Clorfene seem to be showing in the world of the Ger, there's more to it than just the Jews. And you have to go back and restudy it out and look at it. What does it really say? Who was it about?
Rabbi,
Okay.
were you going to say something?
Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, don't worry about
I get passionate when it comes to Mishpatim.
no, it's fine. It wasn't even about that. It was about something else, and it just, like a little swallow, it flew away. Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry. I tried to shut up.
No, don't apologize. It's not your fault. It's my fault. It's early in the morning and I haven't had coffee yet. That's my fault.
Coffee. That's what I need. I need coffee. But
Yeah,
the thing is, you
I got
have
some great coffee.
it's like reading a letter.
I got beer.
You have to see who it's addressed to.
Right.
And for hundreds, if not maybe thousands of years already, people have been led to believe that only the Jews were the addressees. But Torah says there's more people involved.
The thing is, those people weren't interested. So what are you supposed to say? If the only people who would ever take interest in Judaism would get slaughtered, most of the people were taught early. That's one of the great and wonderful.
I can't accept that, because 40 years they wandered through the wilderness, and then in Deuteronomy, Moses says, all of you stand here this day to enter into the covenant with God. And then he names out who all of you standing here this day are. And they're still strangers.
That's because the Old Testament is dead and the New Testament replaced it.
Deuteronomy's not New Testament.
In fact, word.
You're missing what I'm saying. The reason why today's people don't know is because the Old Testament is dead and done away with, and the New Testament is supposed to take over.
Well, the thing is not.
That's part of the people, and
Yeah, part of it.
that's why today's people don't understand it.
Well, today's people haven't been taught.
Exactly.
Well,
Now, I'm talking from a Jewish perspective. Many Jews have not been taught as well.
This is true.
And it's not my place to teach them. I don't mean to be doing that. I'm
No.
just making a comment that you have to actually go back and look at the text and read what it says. And only in the last few years have people actually been able to learn the Hebrew to delve off into it, and or the technology has come about to where we don't have to know the language to study it out. Thank God for lexicons and interlinears. We still don't get all of it by doing that, but we can get the gist of it. And then people like Rabbi Katz and Rabbi Clorfene come along and clarify.
Well, they found an artifact, didn't they? It was always there, but the Jews were never welcomed, no matter where they were at, for 1,500, 2,000 years. So it would be difficult for them to see the non-Jew around them because...
Well, they were busy in preservation mode.
Sure.
So it's not a, I'm not trying to say anything bad.
Right.
It's just a statement of fact, because for whatever reason, through time, perceptions have changed, people have been persecuted, translators thought it best to translate things out so that people didn't realize stuff. You know, we were translated out of the book, basically. And that's what's upsetting people, because Rabbi Katz and Rabbi Clorfene found where we were translated out. And they're putting it back.
Yeah, it's the thing about the translators, though, is that it would not be fair to judge them too harshly, because I don't think, my own personal, I mean, I've read World of the Ger as well, and I've also spoken with Rabbis Katz and Clorfene. I'm not 100% convinced that the translating out was intentional.
Oh, I didn't say that it was.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood then.
I'm sorry if I made it sound that way. We were translated out for whatever reason because of the times people were living in or through. And translators' point of view, and you know, language changes.
Oh, of course. And I think it was a move of expediency rather than intentionally trying to conceal anything.
But you know, still, it happened for a reason, I guess. From Hashem's point of view, it wasn't time, and so, and until everything came around to where Hashem needed it to be, you know, isn't it in the book of Daniel? Isn't it in the book of Daniel?
That's good, because I've said that to my son. My son's name is Daniel, and I've done that.
It says that in the later on at the end times, knowledge will increase and things will become clear, and you know, it can't become clearer if it's not hidden.
Science has done more for Torah revelation, I think, than we might give it credit for. But we notice the more educated we get about the world, the more people have a tendency to treat the Jews better. We got science now. We've got cosmology. You know, 12th century rabbis were right about or it would seem to, the evidence would show that they were right.
Thank you.
I don't know. I'm going off.
No, you're fine.
Well, I'm not against rabbis, and I'm not even against rabbinical Judaism. I think the whole thing is frustrating for many people, for many different persuasions, because communication somewhere stopped. And I think this is the struggle of bringing it back around to where people will communicate again, because the division has to end. And what we see now is the struggle of ending the division. Doesn't matter why it started.
I really think that a lot of the divisiveness is a Noahide thing. I think that there might be a few teachers out there who might, you know, have freaked out and thought something, but I really see a lot, and it might, I don't know.
Well, the Noahide teachers are teaching their Noahides to be divisive.
Well, maybe. I don't know why you would want to make war why a non-Jew would want to make war on another Jew who's just trying to make the world a better place.
Well, because this is what they've done. I mean, what caused the destruction of the temple? Baseless hatred.
Yes, 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 yes.
And it's continued on till this day. I mean, if you don't wear the right hat or the right jacket, or you're not kosher enough for me.
I understand why that had to be in the end, but these are Noah. I'm not concerned really with Israel. I'm not saying I'm not concerned. That's the wrong thing. Jews got to do what a Jew's got to do.
And the thing is that American Jews don't think like Israeli Jews or African Jews. They all have their different way of thinking. I mean, there's a difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardic.
There's cultural difference.
Exactly. And so until you understand, that's why I think the Middle East and all the things are going over there are so prevalent, not because to show everybody and to desensitize them on what's going on there. It's like, this is the way these people think. You can go back into the Bible, into the 5 Gospels. I can't even think straight. You can go back into the 5 books of Moses, and everything is still the same. Everything, even the way they think, is still the same. That is really foreign to any forward-thinking person. They don't get it.
But that's the foundation. That's the foundation everybody needs to go back to.
I know, but the thing is that people look at it and say, this is the 2000s. Why don't you guys get with the program?
Oh, yeah. Well, right.
And move along.
Yeah.
So they don't understand the customs. They don't understand why it's there and why they do what they do. And until that's understood by a lot of the world, which is coming around, it's starting to happen.
You can see it, yeah.
Still waiting for Israel to start possibly.
I think it's time for the Ger Toshav to take their stand.
I agree.
I really think that this is a time when I think that I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it's time to be recognized for what Torah says they're supposed to be.
We're Noahides. We're happy with a 7. Great. Well, I kind of want to get into Judaism. Go over and talk to those guys. The Ger. They're over there. See them? They got their heads covered. And they're
the thing is
struggling with Hebrew and
we don't have a structure per se on a massive basis.
There's not supposed to be a separation.
Well, there's the Akam, and then there's the Ger Toshav.
You're either a non-idolater or you're an idolater. You're either a follower of the one God or you're not.
I was speaking of setting an example. Maybe there needs to be, and I got mad. I got mad at Russell. I need to apologize to him directly. I shouldn't do it on here, and I just said his name live. I was up. I didn't get why there was so much defensiveness. I'd never been in the war. I hadn't been attacked yet, and I was upset that he was determined to. I was like flashing your Ger sign. I didn't get it. I get it now. But there is a war out there. So maybe if there's going to be a war,
we need to find out who our allies are and stick together.
When we know our enemy, it's a matter of just standing our ground. We don't have to throw a sword, but
exactly. Maybe, but we need to know who our allies are.
Well, our allies
and to unite.
Israel. That's all.
Other Noahides. That's why Israel. That's why the Jews are saying it, because there's inner bickering between everybody. And the Noahides really, with the new movement, there really isn't a structure per se. I mean, there's a lot of floundering. Yes, we know we have to study Torah, but until there is more of a structure amongst the world, there's not much we can. Somebody's going to go after somebody, and it's hard to explain.
Until Israel recognizes a non-Jew and embraces them and teaches them how to live within the community of Torah, it will continue, because they're purposely, some of them, I know some of them are, purposely creating a division to keep the good little Gentiles away from them. Keep them in their place.
Some need it. Maybe that's why they do it.
Agreed.
Maybe.
But that needs to be addressed instead of trying to make everybody go into that box. Not everybody needs to be in that box.
Correct. But then those rabbis need to talk to their rabbis, and their rabbis need to talk to their rabbis, and they need conferences on it.
I never get flack from Jews.
I'm not being mean about that either.
I never get flack from Jews. I don't get flack from rabbis. I don't get flack from anybody but Noahides or people who claim it.
I've got it.
Stick a label on their chest, and they come out. And I mean, I'm talking about private message. This has been over 3 times.
I've never seen. I don't get Noahide messages.
I've had private message. I've had mudslung. I've had people warned away from me in private.
I got no time for this. I got time for that.
That's why we moved on. They're still flapping their lips against us, and we're just moving on.
Well, let them.
You know, and I finally just told them either put up or shut up, and they didn't shut up, but they haven't proved anything they've accused us of either.
There you go.
And so I don't worry about them until they decide they're actually going to step up to the plate and prove something.
The biggest problem I have, and this is one other point that I wanted to make when it comes to misconceptions and the world of the Ger, and I don't want to get. We could make a study habit again of this. We could do it again. I don't want to do that tonight. I think there's one more thing that needs to be said before we move on. Old Rabbi Katz proved it in denim class last week, and I'm going to reiterate it here. It's called ad hominem, and it's a word that's thrown around on the internet right and left, and nobody really knows what it means. It's when you result to personal attacks to try to make yourself right on another subject. It's really just personal attacks.
Low self-esteem.
I'm going to say that 9 out of the 10 times that I hear, because there are some things that people work out or trying to work out, disagree with, and they have good Torah-based reasons why they might disagree with things. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is I'm losing my train of thought. It's ad hominem. It's personal. Most of the stuff that people talk about this book, unless you're people like me who just like the guy and love the book and it's ad hominem. It's personal. It's not. They don't read the book. They have no freaking clue what's in the book, and they bitch anyway. And
trolls.
I'm going to say trolls. I'm going to look at them as human beings, and I'm looking at them as need to get smacked upside their freaking head. You have no freaking. I'm sorry. Do I like too much? Is that my problem that I dig science? I like verifiable, testable evidence. If you're going to bring up an argument, cite your freaking sources. None of them can do it. I'd say 9 out of 10, but it's probably more than that. 9.5 out of 10 have no freaking clue what they're complaining about, and they complain anyway. I'm sick of it. If you're a Noahide, you're watching this, or if you know someone who's a Noahide watching this, and you know what they're doing, shame on them. And if you're doing it, shame on you. Read the freaking book or go home. If you don't want to know, if someone tells you not to read, if your rabbi says, don't read that book, don't read it. But don't get on the interwebs and don't get in your little private message and start talking smack on something you know nothing about, especially when it's on another man's soul, especially when it's a rabbi. I know rabbis are not infallible, but for Pete's sakes, have faith. Have a little faith in the Jewish people that God's with them, and they're going to get us through it in the end.
That's why you ask for sources.
Boy, they got no sources, and it's hate. It's venom. It's like, and
it is.
I'm not sure how personally these gentlemen take it, the 2 rabbis who wrote the book. I wouldn't doubt that it might get to them personally a bit. I think they're probably above a lot of it, but I'm not.
There you go. That's a good Irish gentleman out of you. Just give him hell.
Well, I think too, some of it, some of the fear and it's all fear. Okay, they're throwing rocks, they're making personal attacks and shooting at the hip. A lot of that has to do with fear, and I say that because I thought I had everything figured out, and this guy's coming along telling me I don't. I got to start all over.
I have to be more responsible for myself.
Yeah.
I know that's part of it. I've seen it in action myself in some people where, if they have to square off with something, they may have to refine their behavior.
Well, I'll be the first one to say right out. When I came out of Christianity, man, I'll tell you what. You mean I'm giving up my get out of hell free card?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things for people to give up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, well, if that's not real, then the whole game I've been playing is not real. And then,
Mhm.
you're going right back to square one. You feel about the size of a speck of dust, and you're thinking, where do I go from here? So yeah, I can
Yeah.
totally comprehend the fear.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, they won't give it. They truly and honestly are in love with the J-Man, and whatever it is, they won't give it up.
And well, some of them do give up the J-Man, but they swap him for another one.
This is true.
And then they follow their new guru down whatever path,
Exactly.
and at no matter what. I mean, they'll believe hook, line, and sinker anything that comes out of someone's mouth without testing it, checking it, or asking for sources.
Mm. And you know what's great about Judaism in all its forms? We have Torah.
Yay.
You know, we have Jews. There are, what is it? Richard Black says, if you have questions about the New Testament, I have a clue for you. There are Jews among you. We'll talk to you about this anytime if the price is right. It was a joke, but
There's truth in it.
among you,
I like it.
I could tell I could feel it through the television set. The profound smack upside the head that audience got when he said that.
Mhm. God bless him anyway.
Well, I have said for years that there's going to be a flood of people, and you can almost see the tide swelling.
Yeah.
And it's truly, I think, signs of the times that we're living in. I mean, it's confusion is abounding, attacks are abounding.
It's the last ditch effort.
Uh,
It's the last ditch.
like the death throes.
Prove the Jews wrong.
Did
It's
any
last-
of you?
They're going to slash out with everything they have. It's going to hurt, I'm sure, but I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm really glad that I get to edit Rabbi Katz's classes. I'm really glad that I get to have this hangout, and I've got friends. We have a rabbi that comes and hangs with us. Wow, how cool is that? I mean, I love it. I loved it.
I love the preaching of the Kodal at the Kodal. That last video he did, that was awesome.
Yeah, he didn't breathe much, did he?
Nope. But one point stood out, and it's like it was like everything was silent as he said. It's like, well, why aren't there Noahides there? Because Shem couldn't buy any land, and so he went back home. He could that one. It's like the whole thing went silent except for that phrase. He couldn't have any land, so he turned around and went back home. It's like, whoa! It's like, okay, there's a reason.
You're talking about Jethro.
Or whoever he said, yeah, it's like,
it would have been Jethro, I think.
okay, well, I got close.
Yeah,
Y'all know where I am. I get tongue tied too. You know that.
We're all related,
Yep.
Man, I've loved Yisro for many years.
But that was so cool just to hear him say, you know why I know eyes aren't there? Because God said you couldn't have the land, so he went back home. It's like, yes.
It was his attitude needed adjusting.
Okay.
The thing is that the Gerim, the people who will attach themselves to Israel, are necessary for the world's redemption.
Yep.
That's one thing, and I didn't mark the book for this, but there are plenty of times I spoke. I do remember one I keep bringing up: where the world will speak one tongue. It will be the holy tongue.
You look in the back of the World of the Gear, there's a bunch of text sources back there. You might be able to eyeball it.
It's okay. My first instincts of Judaism were true. 20 years ago, my first instincts were true. I couldn't get enough of it, and I
Absolutely.
do it. I stumbled, fell on my face, probably made made some Jewish people look bad. I went all out, and I'm discovering now, years later, I wasn't alone in that. It's good for everybody. It's good for you. You just have to,
It's a process.
yeah, you just have to learn, and learning sometimes is enough. That's one thing I discovered with Bob Wells years ago. We used to study the Divine Code together. It was just learning it was enough. It was almost like, and then I find out later that what is it? If you study the seven, as it gets in your head. I don't know.
It's all a process. It's like growing up from a baby to a toddler.
This is for the world. The Jews are for you.
Absolutely.
That's what. It's the ultimate. Great to have kung fu. It's great to have Taoism. But
Don't need their demons.
the best one you're going to get is Torah. I don't think anything better than that. You just can't get anything better than that. This Torah is my Torah. This Torah is your Torah. Got it. Go to the Jewish people. And you know what? I really believe, Pam, a lot more folks are cool with it than they might have been 10 years ago. With non-Jews coming in and saying, your God is my God, your people are my people. I think that there are a lot more, people who are cool with that. I don't know if they're going to read The World of the Ger. That book is by no means definitive, mind you. It's a great place to start.
It's just a beginning.
Studied the book, and then I go back, and then I'm going to read my parshas, and then it's like, oh my gosh, wow. But I really do think that the Jewish people are going to be far more tolerant of this than the Noahides. Oh, it's terrible. I keep picking on these guys, but I don't want to be that. Whatever they are, I don't want to be it. I'm not that. I don't want to be it. Fine. You have your Noahide. I'm going to cross the Jordan now. I've got to do this. I have to do this.
The thing to remember is not all of them are that way. Many of them they're newbies, having just stepped out of whatever they stepped out of. And that's the first thing they find. And we just need to get easier to find. I mean,
exactly.
They're the people that have moved on from that stage to the next stage of understanding. It doesn't mean we have left the 7 laws. We haven't. That's our foundation.
No.
But we have embraced Torah as it applies to us. Not everybody understands Torah applies to them other than the 7, because they're not being taught. So we don't need to fight about it. We need to define it and let them find it. What do they say? If you build it, they will come.
I have a question, a very controversial question. Okay, here we go, y'all.
Do I need my pen?
Do we okay? Should the Noahide movement go away? Is it time that we start something new, or that?
No, it needs to clean up. The titles, the labels need to stop.
It is
We need structure.
We have structure.
No, I mean amongst the Noahides. Like I said, we all need to come together in an agreement of how to approach one another, and I can't think of the right words.
14%.
You can't do that, though. Here's why. There's too many different groups who are saying they're teaching their own version of the Noahide Holocaust. And their version is the best version, and nobody else's is any good. And so you get people from different groups, because not all of them find the same group. When they come out of whatever they're coming out of, they find other Noahides who then say, well, I study with this rabbi or this group here or this group over there, and so people migrate to those groups. They're not finding the information that will teach them not to be divisive. Because the minute you hook up with a group, all the slings and arrows come in.
Because everybody else is wrong. I get that.
Because everybody else is wrong.
Well, that's like high school, junior high too.
Exactly.
We're having a football game. Okay.
Exactly. But what it is it's different versions.
Interpretations.
Well, you have kabod versus non-kabod.
Mm-hmm.
That's the predominant two groups. You have the kabod has Ask Noah, which is a very good group for information. They did the Divine Code. The Divine Code is a very good source book. Then you have the group that Rabbi Schwartz was established as a posek over by the chief Sephardi rabbi in Israel, Rabbi Eliashiv. Was it Eliyahu? I forget his name now. I'd have to go back and look. It's been so long since I've said it. But he back in the 80s, he was the chief Sephardic rabbi. So now we have Sephardic versus Ashkenazi. And as long as these groups of Jews have contentions between them, they're teaching it to their Noahides.
The rabbi said something over here. I think would be good to have on the recording. It says you also need to realize that most Jews raised in the Orthodox community have little exposure to non-Jews and are, frankly, terrified of them. Imagine being kicked around, abused for centuries by non-Jews, and all of a sudden, several begin claiming they want you to worship. They want to worship the same God you do. Would you not be suspicious of their motives?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But there's a way around that with time. People's motives generally, you watch them.
Right.
You teach them how. You can tell sincerity. I mean, even we as non-Jews have to watch our tails.
Yeah.
Because people infiltrate our groups and studies, and if we had synagogues, they would be showing up to do the same thing. So we have to go through the same stuff, not on the same scale Israel did, but we have to face it too. You would not believe the flack we catch.
There's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Last decade.
And if people would just get on with studying and rectifying and refining,
they don't know how to do that.
So much quicker could we get on with this. That's because people aren't taught.
Exactly.
They're not taught, and you can't teach them on a college level. That's why we've always focused on the newbies. That's been our focus, is teaching newbies, helping newbies understand the basics, and directing them to good sources so that they don't get sideswiped into these other groups that are hating people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think you put it really well about the service from the heart, is that you can make it your own.
That was the whole intent behind it.
Yeah, once it's your own, your adaptation skills, I don't know if I'm saying this right, your adaptation skills are heightened. Once it's within you, am I saying it right? You know what I'm trying to say?
Uh-huh. There's tidbits of information in the book that are there on purpose to teach you and educate you and to direct you into the next level of if you want to go there. But if you don't want to go there, here's the basics. And if you're an individual or if you're a group of individuals, you can take the book and work with it, and it's been rabbinically reviewed, rabbinically endorsed. Rabbis wrote some of the prayers and stuff. There's more than just prayers in the book. There's also living stuff. You know, there's a baby naming, and there's a wedding and a funeral, and there's all kinds of information about just living. But you don't have to follow it exactly. You can adapt it to your community, your group, your culture. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can take it to your rabbi, and he'll help you rewrite it.
From what I understand, the 70 nations primordially will keep their identity. They don't lose, like a lot of their culture, they don't lose. In the Messianic era, the world just doesn't stop and start wearing, black and white or white shirts with a black vest and a fedora. It just doesn't happen that your identity is an Irishman or a Japanese man.
Your culture just cleans up.
An American or
Yes.
an Englishman.
Yeah, if it's against Torah, you stop doing it. But if it's not against Torah, touche, have fun. Enjoy it. God didn't create us all to be Twinkies. He created us to have individual preferences and likes and dislikes and colors and stuff, you know?
I think it's a lot to do with, everybody, like you said, comes in at the entry level. Everybody does. And if some just can't get past that, great. At least they've got the basics, and they're always right there to remind you of that foundation.
There's nothing at all wrong with them staying right there.
Right.
But they shouldn't require that we all stay
No,
right there.
no. It's just that if any individual from that point desires to learn or grow or progress, the community should be there to help them progress in that area that they're looking to grow.
That should be an option, absolutely. And that's where people get stuck.
I mean, not
You
every
don't want to
human
do
being,
it, so you can't.
right. Not every human being is going to have the ability to learn Hebrew, but if there is that person, then sure, he should have that community, that section of the community they could go to that'll be useful and helpful to do so.
People really make it way harder than it needs to be.
It takes a shift on every person's personal level. Stop throwing rocks, stop being distrustful, stop being defensive, stop being hateful, just put it all down, okay? And okay, it's human nature. You're not gonna just instantly like every human being that you come in contact with, but there will be those who you will resonate with.
And that's where you need to go.
Sure.
It's like synagogues. They'll tell you, shop around, because you're not going to like every synagogue you go to. Some Jews don't like a synagogue, so they won't go to that synagogue, but they'll go to the other synagogue over there because they like it.
Sure.
And that's okay. And I guess that's something I have never understood. You know, that's like being married. People, when they get married, they think, not all people, but some people, my partner has to change because I want him to. They married him the way that he was. They loved him, you know, and then they set out to try to change him.
Sure, that's what every woman wants, a fixer-upper.
No way. Yeah.
No, Larry and I have always had the understanding that we're allowed to be different.
Mm-hmm.
We like the color.
My wife understands that I came as is. What you see is what you get.
We refine each other, but we don't define each other. There's
There
a
you go.
And that's the way the world should be. We should help refine each other, but we should not define each other. Because we're all at different levels of understanding. We're all at different levels of knowledge. And we're all in a process that's individualized by Hashem. And that takes a while for people to figure out.
So you're saying if he wanted Twinkies, he could have made them?
He could have. Absolutely.
Gary did it, called angels.
I have met a few people I think are Twinkies because we're so much alike. But we don't have to be. You know, we do have differences of opinion here and there. I mean, we're not carbon copies of each other. And I like blue and some people like purple, and you know, we might study the same things but like different environments. I'm an old woman. I don't do rock and roll so good all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like it, sometimes it depends on the rock, you know?
You're a finger, I'm an elbow, somebody's an asshole. Hey, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. And then there's jerk buckets.
That's right.
Yeah. One of the things that somebody said to me years ago that caused me to think pretty good was, if you really think you're all that perfect, if you met yourself, would you marry you?
I'd run. I would run.
I'd be in heaven. I'm kidding.
I would so run.
Like I didn't have any other reasons to be paranoid. Thank you very much.
Amen. Rabbi said, to study the Bible in translation is like kissing your new bride through a veil. That's
No kidding.
by Ali.
Yay.
Did I say the name right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And I learned how to read and write Hebrew. I got a little book, and Rabbi Truzman was gracious enough to take the extra time to teach us that. We moved. I didn't have internet for a little while, so I kind of lost track. But
We should practice together.
Hebrew does help.
It does. And all of us are at different stages of that, too.
Even on my rudimentary level, I'm beginning to get to the point now where I can just begin to see things. I look at the right side of my humish, and I can begin to see things. You can search for words. I mean, Rabbi Google. Go to Google, look up a word, find the word you're looking for, or if you don't know what that word is, it's next to a word you're looking at. You can always find out. It's a really that's one thing I like about Hebrew compared to English. It's very straightforward. The vowels.
And thanks to the internet, it's getting easier to research.
It's not hard. It's really an easy. I mean, I was told that years ago. I'm like, all right, yeah. It's an easy language. Whatever. It's Hebrew. How would I know?
Well,
it's pretty straightforward, and it does help, even on a rudimentary level. If you can start, I would recommend to you out there on the wonderful world of the internet to learn Hebrew and learn it from a rabbi, learn it from a Torah-based source. You can go to a college, I'm sure, and get a secular humanist. On language, I haven't let go. I've been chewing for the past few weeks, Rabbi, on Paleo Hebrew versus the modern Hebrew. And should we go back to Paleo Hebrew? And where did the Aramaic come from? And why does it work so well with Judy? I have so many questions on that. There's not a lot out there on the web. I know where to go that could talk about that, but I have not let go of that conversation we had on that.
What are you talking about?
Well, what language would have been in or on whatever in the tablet at Sinai? Would it have been the Aramaic-ish Hebrew, whatever we use now. It's pretty much Aramaic from what I could tell. It was very similar, identical almost. Or we have seen the Paleo Hebrew in those. If it was a Paleo Hebrew, why are we learning this Aramaic thing? And did the Aramaic come by? If it was a Paleo Hebrew and the Aramaic-ish, I mean, in other words, why wouldn't we learn this, the purer or pure form? Because we could, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, you're talking almost like it's two different languages. It's not. There's no difference between Hebrew that's written in a Paleo Hebrew script and Hebrew that's written in what are called Aramaic block letters, which is how Hebrew is written today. One very, very good argument for keeping the block letters is it's much, much easier. It's way easier to figure out. In Paleo Hebrew, there's no punctuation. There would be no differentiation between vowels and consonants. You would have to, instead of having punctuation that would tell you where vowels are, you would have to interchange different letters to do so in Paleo Hebrew, and you'd have to infer from context what it's actually saying. It would be a huge pain to do it. I know, because I've tried. But as far as, it's not necessarily, in fact, I would actually make the case that the block letters is actually much more pure and that it's much more easier to make yourself understood when you write something.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that Paleo Hebrew almost looks clumsy, whereas the Aramaic block letters appear much more elegant.
Oh, they do, and that's part of the idea. But I mean, I've heard the argument from other people. Why don't you use Paleo Hebrew? And the argument that, and I'm not criticizing you. I'm saying it's, paraphrasing. The argument is, if it's older, therefore it must be better. And if we're going to follow that line of thinking, then we might as well not even use the Hebrew at all. The Paleo Hebrew script really just comes from Phoenician. Why don't we just use Phoenician? Of course, we don't, because it's not the language that the text was originally, when the text I'm talking about, of course, the Torah, was originally written in.
Am I correct? Would I be correct in saying that Adam and Noah spoke Hebrew? What we know as Hebrew today?
I don't know. I have no way of knowing.
I don't know if I've made it up or if I read it. I always had assumed. This is something I assumed. That, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, but back to Shem, Noah, and Adam.
Well, you talk about, the patriarchs where Avram came from in Mesopotamia, he would have spoken, well, first of all, he probably would have spoken a couple different languages, but I mean, I'm sure certainly some type of Proto-Hebrew, I can't even speak, Proto-Hebrew Semitic language, I'm sure is something he spoke, but would we recognize it as Hebrew today? Probably not.
I had a thought.
Did it hurt?
A thought. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, you can see the smoke coming out of my ears. Okay. No, as he was saying that, it's like, well, if God wrote the commandments to Moses, I think that God had to teach Moses the language that he wrote. And Moses was in charge of teaching Aaron and everybody else so they could teach their own tribes. And that's where I think Hebrew began. Because it would have been in the Egyptian tongue or whatever they were speaking, because that would be the language they were if they came out of Egypt. That's how I always thought it was. I could be wrong, but that's how I thought it was.
Wasn't that okay? Now here, see, I don't have my sources handy. Wasn't that what Moses went up on the mountain to get? This is in Mishpatim, the God reads the book of the ancients, and the people accept it, and it was almost celebratory. The feeling of the parsha was very celebratory. Moses ascends the mountain into the flames, if you will, to receive the tablets of stone. I wonder if that's when he might have learned the pure,
Well,
maybe. Or would God have just been smart enough to give it to him in a language they'd understand? But then again, they also say the Hebrew letters, when they combined them, when God combined the Hebrew letters, he creates the universe. So,
yeah. See, this is where I always thought that. Like I said, when Moses came down with the stone tablets written by God, and he saw that the Israelis had sinned, he broke them because that would mean that he would have to kill everybody.
mm-hmm.
And he broke them and said, well, if you do this, and then he had to go back up and receive them. But God taught him because Moses was writing it down. So if it was too much for them to understand, they wouldn't get it. But Moses did. So Moses had to go back up and say, hey, these people don't get it. You're going to have to show me how to do this or explain to me how to teach it. I'm sure, if God wanted to give it to him by osmosis, sure, no problem. But, I think that Moses had to learn the language and then take it to Aaron and the other elders and teach them so they could teach the rest of the tribes. That's where I came up with that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's always the way that I thought about it.
Well, I'll give you my take.
Sure.
Please.
I always like your takes, Ross.
There was a descendant of Shem whose name was Heber. Heber.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Shem together later on taught Abraham in the tents of Shem. And Abraham at one point was called an Ivri, a Hebrew. Okay? Are you familiar with this?
No.
Yes? No?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then as moving forward in time from Abraham to Moses, when Pharaoh's daughter pulled Moses from the river out of the basket, she just looked at him, and her comment was, "This is one of the Hebrews."
Well, he had that thing tattooed on his head,
That was a blanket.
What?
It's a blanket.
Just seeing if y'all was paying attention.
Put that thing tattooed on his head. Unicorn horn? Okay.
The circumcision would have given it away.
I'm
Not
thinking
necessarily, because I think back then I think some of the Egyptians were circumcising too, weren't they?
Yep.
that
Royalty circumcised, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Rabbi.
No, it's kings did, like the servants of kings very often did. The servants and slaves of kings.
Yeah, I had read that somewhere.
Circumcised. That's actually not that rare of a practice. The farther you go back in history in the Middle East.
I heard from at least one place that Joseph may have been responsible for introducing circumcision in Egypt.
All right, going back to Abraham.
I'm sorry?
The circumcision of bris milah goes back to Abraham.
Right, and I'm just saying when Joseph was sold into Egypt during his time there, someone commented that, or at least was trying to give Joseph credit for introducing circumcision in Egypt. I can't prove it. It's just a comment.
That's an interesting thought.
The example that Joseph would have set. You know what he did? He saved the nation, and the nation saved the world. I mean, I would not doubt if emulation. Ooh, that maybe it was not necessarily that he taught people, but that his influence alone would have changed the culture of Egypt a bit. Maybe. Ooh. That's what we have to be. Well, what was that, Larry?
Yeah, he's thinking out loud again.
Noah was born circumcised.
Yeah, they say Noah was born circumcised.
How can Abraham be the first? He was the first commanded man.
Well, the covenant with Abraham was cut, and that would have been the beginning of commanded. Yeah. Up until then, maybe it was done by choice or something. I don't know.
I'm thinking is it a case where you have a people who are a priesthood, as would have been evident through Noah and his father Methuselah. That they talk about even Methuselah was a righteous man, but wasn't held off until he passed away.
Is he talking loud enough y'all can hear him?
I heard something about Methuselah until he was a righteous man until he passed away. Other than that, I didn't hear anything else.
Good hearing. Talk louder, honey.
Well, I'm just throwing something out there. Yeah, because to my mind, it would be a logical thing that if Noah was born circumcised, it would make sense that as a priesthood, the priesthood would have been circumcised, as would have been Shem and Aber. But because the covenant was being passed down to a family instead of just a single priesthood, then we have the commandment of circumcision as being something that would take on a greater significance than just a single person, and hence we have the commandment. Anybody got any comments? Or? That was stupid.
So I never heard that before. So I never heard Noah was circumcised at birth. I mean,
I know
he was born circumcised according.
I never heard that.
Someone was born uncircumcised. I know that was Moses. Was Moses born uncircumcised as well?
I think it was Enoch and Noah who were born uncircumcised. Oh, no, they were born circumcised.
I've never heard that before.
I wonder if I wonder if that's a devolution.
It's in the Midrash, I believe. Midrash Rabbah.
Well, coats of skins. I just wonder if that's a devolution of mankind, a natural result of our descent out of the garden. You know what I'm saying? Do you get my drift?
Coats of skin?
Well, when we left Eden, we were given coats of skin. I wonder if this thing, this extra skin, this thing, is not an original design. If it was a result of our de-evolution into the next or today.
Well, one explanation as far as the skin goes is that it it's taught that Adam before the fall was or light,
Huh?
right?
Yeah.
And then when he fell, he was covered with skin or just a slight change. And the skin of animals is what it comes out to be in Genesis. That they tried to cover themselves with fig leaves, but Hashem covered them with the skin of animals.
Uh-huh.
And to me, that's saying that a being of light
Yeah.
hit a fallen status. So, in that fallen status, he became clothed in skin.
I wonder if the luminous are uncircumcised. If you can say the luminous are not circumcised. I'm thinking of these men, great men in Torah, human men, not factions. They weren't. They were human, um, born uncircumcised. Later, it's a tradition we do it. I wonder if mankind, when we begin to repair ourselves in the world, will, if that would be a natural progression, is that we will be born uncircumcised. I'm just throwing it out there.
As a
I,
genetic defect.
I get
no.
wait. Okay, yeah, we could. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, absolutely.
How about this? How about we stop being physical creatures and we go back to being the creatures that we were before we fell?
That'd be cool. I like that one.
We would have no need for circumcision.
I could be a light bulb.
Or skin for that matter.
Into that, I mean, even of the heart. The one there's a circumcision in Deuteronomy, and they mention where the heart is circumcised as well.
Oh yeah. I know what you're referring to. It's I will take away your heart of stone, and I will replace it with a heart of flesh,
Yep.
and I will write my laws on your heart as opposed to on stone.
And then everyone will know God.
What are you doing?
He's begging.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I am a rooster. I love you, night owls, but I'm just a rooster, and I feel a little out of place here sometimes.
I don't know why.
Because I can't hang with the night owls. I got to get up with the sun.
Well, if we had to get up and work early in the morning, I'm
Yes,
sometimes up and down all night long with my little 18-year-old dog. But then I have
I'm
to take a nap in the afternoon.
Here it is. It's Devarim chapter 30, verse 6. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul thou mayest live. My point is that the closer we get to reparation, the more people would be born uncircumcised. For that matter, when you are luminous, there's no need for circumcision. You would be circumcised already, exposed, and F1. Okay, enough crotch talk. I'll leave you. I'm going to shut up about it now. Okay,
I just want to say something real quick that is completely off topic.
okay, please.
Ross, before you go away, guess what I got in the mail?
What you got in the mail?
I got a book printed by Sansino on Ezekiel.
Oh,
Hebrew, English with commentary
Rabbi Abraham Cohen.
by Rabbi Abraham Cohen.
okay.
Oh, no. Rabbi Dr. S. Fish did the Ezekiel. Rabbi Cohen did the 12 prophets. I also got a book called The 12 Prophets from Sonsino. English, Hebrew, with commentary.
Ooh.
Got them from a Libris for like $3 a book. They were published in the 40s.
So somebody going to be studying the prophets?
And since you're my Ezekiel dude, dot connector whisperer person, I could see some study stuff in our future.
Oh, absolutely. We can work that in.
We may need more time.
Yeah. I've
This,
got a.
you know, all of us can. Anybody who wants to can. It's just we've talked so much about Ezekiel, and Ross knows what I'm talking about in Ezekiel, like the prophecy of dry bones.
Oh, yeah, that's just part of it, but yeah.
I'm just dying to dig into this stuff, and it's got lots of commentary from the Sephardic. The Sonsino is Sephardic, and I don't know. I'm not saying their commentary is the best, but I glean so much more from it, understanding wise, in some cases, than I do the other.
Some's better than none.
Yeah, especially when you're me.
You be the best me you know how to be, Pam.
There you go.
Do what?
You be the best me you know how to be, Pam.
Oh, you betcha. I'm so
Don't tell her that. She's too much me already.
Anyway, we're excited about this, and they have a whole set, and eventually we'll get all the other books too. But in Libris, you can get them cheap. I mean cheap.
Have to send me that link.
I will. It is a Libris. Hang on, I'll put it in the room. Alibris.com. You go there and you just do a search for Sonsino, or you can do a search for Jewish or Torah, and it'll pull up all the books that are for sale from all the different booksellers.
Uh-huh.
And some of these books are 99 cents a book.
Wow.
And you pay for shipping. One of these, I think I paid $3 for plus shipping, and the shipping was like $4.
Wow.
And we were in there looking today, and there's some of the books from this set are 99 cents a book. Depends on who, and they show you all the different people offering them. And that's where we get our Sonsino Pumash. I gave mine away, so I had to order another one. And now I'm finding them for like $4. They're awesome. But they're older books. They're not brand new printing.
Yeah.
But they're awesome commentaries and full of information. And so I'm just really hooked on them. Helps our understanding.
It didn't say clearance up in the corner, did it?
No. You go there and you get stuff even cheaper.
Wow. That's
Hang
amazing.
on. I'll find one. I'll show you. I'll put a link in there for y'all to see.
I can't see the link. I'm on my phone, so you'll have to send it a different way.
Oh, man.
Put it in the mill. That way everybody's got it.
I'll send it. James can upload it. He's still alive, though. I don't want to interrupt.
We're about to be unlive.
Okay. For instance, here's the 5 Megillah. For as low as $6. Let me give you the link to this. This is just one of the. It's just one that came up quick. Here you go. You can pull it up in the room. That's the 5 Megillah. It just come up quick. And if I do a search for Sonsino.
Alibris.com.
Alibris.com, yeah.
All right, I'm going to end the live session right now. For all of you watching out there, thank you for tuning in. This is the book, okay? This is not the new. This is not. This did not come out. This is not the new Bible. It's not the New Testament.
Gizmo.
It's
Sorry, guys.
Gizmo. It's
Gizmo.
a good book. It's worth the read if you're involved in the controversy and you don't like what you're hearing about it and you feel strongly about what you hear about it. Just read it. It's just take the time to read it. Okay. I ask everybody, if anybody's watching this, if you continue to watch it, let's ease up on the lesson horror. Okay. Yeah, you might hear things, but if you don't hear it in front of you, it didn't happen. Quantum physics, kind of a thing. Very solid system. But if you don't hear it firsthand and you don't have sources, then ease up. It's just a book. Rabbi Cass is just this guy, he's great. Rabbi Clorfene, he's just this guy. He's great. Easy folks, easy friends. Okay. It's a good book, and thank you both rabbis for writing it, and thank y'all.
Amen.
Shalom, y'all.
Shalom.
Shalom. I'm sorry about streaming Gizmo. I had a puppy attacking an 18-year-old.